Iron Man 2008 is not just another superhero movie. It's the one that kickstarted the Marvel Cinematic Universe and set the tone for all the films that followed. But behind the flashing lights, intense action, and high-tech suits, there are fascinating and bizarre facts that make the story even more captivating. From the casting choices to the unexpected improvisations on set, Iron Man is full of surprises. Let's dive into some weird and lesser-known facts that you probably never heard of. First, Robert Downey Jr. wasn't even Marvel's first choice to play Tony Stark. At the time, the role was offered to several big names in Hollywood, including Tom Cruise, who was considered a perfect fit for the character of Tony Stark. Other names like Nicolas Cage and even Matt Damon were floated, but it was Downey Jr. who ultimately got the role. This decision wasn't easy. The film's director, Jon Favreau, had a very different actor in mind for Stark. However, after meeting Downey Jr., he was immediately convinced that Robert was the only actor who could bring the character to life. His performance added so much depth to Tony Stark, and it's hard to imagine anyone else playing the role today. One of the most iconic and memorable lines in Iron Man is "I am Iron Man," a declaration of Stark's identity that marks the film's pivotal moment. What's crazy is that this line wasn't even in the original script. Robert Downey Jr. improvised it during filming, and it ended up becoming one of the most memorable and defining lines of the MCU. This was just the beginning of his improvisation streak. In fact, Downey Jr. has since admitted that much of Tony Stark's quick wit and sarcasm wasn't scripted, but came directly from his own personality. The director and writers were so impressed with Downey Jr.'s natural charisma that they often let him run with lines, trusting his judgment to enhance the character. Speaking of lines, another improvised gem from Robert Downey Jr. is the famous "genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist" line, which wasn't in the script either. It was another spur-of-the-moment addition by Downey Jr., which showed Tony Stark's cocky yet charming persona. This line became so ingrained in the pop culture lexicon that it perfectly encapsulated Stark's larger-than-life attitude, making it an instant fan favorite. The character of Tony Stark is famously inspired by the real-life entrepreneur Howard Hughes, a reclusive genius with a flair for the dramatic. However, Robert Downey Jr. brought his own twist to the role, making Tony Stark a completely unique and unforgettable character. Downey Jr. infused Stark with humor, vulnerability, and wit, creating a figure who was both a genius inventor and a deeply flawed man. He wasn't just a playboy billionaire. He was a man trying to find his purpose in the world, which made him more relatable to audiences. Downey's performance is widely credited for the film's success, and it's hard to imagine anyone else bringing the same charisma and charm to the role. When it comes to the production, Iron Man was actually a massive gamble for Marvel Studios. At the time, Marvel was still a relatively small player in Hollywood, and the idea of creating a shared universe of superhero films was far from certain. Iron Man was the first movie that Marvel Studios fully financed by themselves, meaning if it had failed, the entire studio could have crumbled. The film's budget was modest, especially by today's standards, at around $140 million. Compare that to the budgets of modern superhero films, and it's clear just how much risk Marvel took. Fortunately, the gamble paid off, and Iron Man became a massive box office success, paving the way for the entire MCU. The suit of armor itself is another interesting part of the film's production. While most of the Iron Man suit was created using CGI, parts of it were physically built for close-up shots. These practical suits were heavy, around 50 to 60 pounds, but they were much lighter than what many fans assume. In the movie, the suit looks much heavier, and the weight adds to its intimidating presence on screen. But for the actors wearing the suit, it wasn't just about looking cool, it was about embodying the character. Downey Jr. often spoke about how the suit made him feel more powerful, allowing him to truly step into Tony Stark's shoes, literally. In the movie, Tony Stark is seen hanging out with engineers and tinkering with new technology. Robert Downey Jr. wasn't just acting as a genius inventor. He was genuinely interested in the tech behind the scenes. On set, he would spend hours talking to engineers, learning about the real technologies that could one day make the Iron Man suit a reality. His dedication to authenticity went beyond just delivering lines. He wanted to understand the science behind Stark's inventions. It's said that Downey Jr. even tried to build his own version of the Iron Man suit in his garage, using real-world technology. The film's production was also marked by several challenges. particularly when it came to the suit. During filming, the Iron Man suit was designed in such a way that it would look realistic on screen, but it was also incredibly difficult to wear. In fact, the full suit weighed about 100 pounds, making it nearly impossible for the actor to wear for long periods of time. As a result, the suit was broken up into different sections, with each piece being worn for different parts of the film. However, there were moments when the suit had to be worn for close-up shots, requiring the actor to endure long hours of wearing the heavy armor. Marvel made sure to capture the look and feel of Stark's high-tech world with a mixture of practical effects and CGI. The special effects team used cutting-edge technology to create Iron Man's flying sequences, making sure they were as realistic as possible. However, they also had to contend with the fact that Iron Man's flight was not only a technical challenge but a visual one. The team had to ensure that the suit's design looked sleek and believable, while also making the flight scenes exciting and engaging for the audience. One of the most exciting parts of the film is the incredible action sequences, particularly when Iron Man takes flight for the first time. While the suit itself was designed with a lot of CGI, the filmmakers made sure to capture Downey Jr.'s performance in a way that felt genuine. They filmed a number of flight sequences in a wind tunnel, giving the effects team a better idea of how the suit would react to high winds and how the character would move through the air. The combination of practical effects and CGI made for a thrilling and visually stunning experience. Stan Lee, Marvel's legendary creator, makes a cameo in Iron Man in a hilarious moment where he's mistaken for Hugh Hefner at a party. This is just one of many cameo appearances Lee made throughout the MCU. His appearances have since become a beloved tradition for fans, adding a layer of fun and nostalgia to each Marvel movie. Despite its success, Iron Man faced a lot of challenges during production. Many of the script's action scenes were rewritten during filming to make the tone more lighthearted and humorous. The filmmakers initially planned for the film to have a darker and more serious tone, but they realized that a more humorous approach would resonate better with audiences. This shift in tone became one of the defining characteristics of Iron Man and helped set it apart from other superhero films at the time. Gwyneth Paltrow, who played Pepper Potts, wasn't initially interested in taking the role. However, after reading the script, she was convinced to join the cast. She brought a level of warmth and charm to the role, balancing out the cocky and sometimes abrasive Tony Stark. The chemistry between her and Robert Downey Jr. was so strong that it helped elevate the film's emotional depth, making their relationship one of the most endearing parts of the MCU. The film's success was a turning point for superhero movies. It proved that a well-crafted, character-driven story could succeed at the box office, even without relying on the typical cliches of superhero films. The blend of humor, action, and heart set a new standard for the genre, and Iron Man became a blueprint for all future MCU films. Looking back, it's hard to imagine Iron Man being anything but a massive success. From its innovative use of CGI to its stellar performances, the film brought a fresh perspective to the superhero genre. Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of Tony Stark not only helped launch the MCU, but also turned Iron Man into a cultural icon. The impact of Iron Man continues to be felt today, as the MCU has grown into the most successful movie franchise in history. It all started with one man in a suit telling the world that he was Iron Man. And, thanks to a bit of improvisation and a lot of hard work, Tony Stark became one of the most beloved characters in cinema history. As we reflect on Iron Man's legacy, it's clear that the movie was much more than just a superhero flick. It was a moment in cinema that forever changed the landscape of blockbuster filmmaking, and it all started with a man, a suit, and a line that would define a universe.